There are no standards in email coding, and whereas when you're designing for a web page, it pretty much is going to render consistently across browser to browser. When you're designing an email for AOL, Yahoo, Hotmail, where there are no consistent standards, it's going to show up a little differently. So you need to do a lot of testing to understand how that's going to perform and how that HTML code is going to perform for them. The other difference in email is truly how the subscriber views and engages the email. There is a deliberate action to go from each stage to the next stage in an email. So you can't really view an email. If you're creating an email, you can't view it as a printout or as a PDF on your computer screen, because that's just not how the subscriber is going to see it.
Subscriber's inbox is a very noisy place. It's filled with the clutter of tons of messages, folders, calendar invites. So having a chance to have your email stand out, you're really competing with a lot of different noise. It really all begins with the from name. It's the first place your subscribers look, and 73% of them will make the decision to report your email as junk or spam based upon that. So if they see a name that they recognize and that they trust, they're more likely to open. The second most important thing when trying to get your subscribers' attention is your subject line. Even if they see a company and a brand that they know and trust and they want to receive their emails, if your subject line isn't enticing to them, if it's something they're not interested in, they're just going to ignore it. So that's why it's really important to have a well thought out and well formatted subject line to appropriately whet their appetite to get them to open the message. If they click on the name of that email, a portion of that will display in their preview pane, and in most cases the images will be blocked, so all that's rendering is the HTML text that's behind the scenes. So that's why it's extremely important to include your primary call to action as HTML text and within that preview pane view. So that way once they see that, they'll be more likely to download the images and ultimately open and read your email. And it's important that all this key information is what's considered above the fold, so what the subscriber sees before they have to scroll. And you're working in very limited time, and a lot of people will not scroll to the bottom to see your entire message. So by including your primary points and the most important information at the top, you're really maximizing your screen real estate.
Well, you want to plan really carefully how to use images in your email. Images can be a great way to enhance the effectiveness of your message, but you really don't want images to be the main focus of your design. Rather, they should be a supplement to your design. It's really important that your email stands alone without the use of images. A lot of email clients are still blocking images by default these days, so your email really needs to be readable and stand alone without the use of those images, or if images are disabled. If you're going to use images, it's also really important to make sure you include alt tags. For example, if this is that same email with images disabled, then you can see the main message still comes across loud and clear. The images aren't necessary in order to convey the message of this email. You can even see the alt tags are appearing in the place of some of those images. You should use HTML text and web-safe fonts such as Arial, Verdana, Times, and Georgia whenever possible, especially for your key message or your main call to action. You can also use bullets, buttons, or background colors to encourage subscribers to click once they've made the decision to open your email. Those are the fonts that are commonly installed on most machines, including Mac and PC. So if you specify a font that someone doesn't have on the machine, you're taking a chance that it's going to default to something that you have no control over. A lot of marketers want to use multimedia in their email marketing campaigns these days. The best idea, if you'd like to include that sort of content in your email, is to link to an external site rather than embed the content directly in your email. If you embed the content directly in your email, it's very unlikely that that content will function once it reaches the subscriber's inbox. If you'd like to include that sort of content, we suggest you take a screenshot and then link to an external site. That way you can include your video or your flash in your campaign without breaking down the subscriber's inbox.
To really ensure that your email is successful in all those stages of email viewing, and also that it's rendering and displaying properly, is to test. You have to test continually, you have to test often. You can use a tool such as Pivotal Veracity's eDesign Optimizer is a great option to do that. You could also set up a number of free email accounts at Gmail, Hotmail, AOL, and test for yourself. It's extremely important to know your subscriber base and know your audience. If you know the majority of subscribers using a particular email client, it allows you to focus your testing efforts in those particular areas, so that way you're ensuring the majority of subscribers are seeing your emails in the way you want them to. For a good example of how design testing can really drive business results, I recommend that you take a look at the Career Builder case study. It's a great example of using in-depth testing and performance-driven design to deliver results. It's important to remember that the email landscape is ever changing. New versions of desktop email software as well as web-based email clients are constantly being introduced. What works today won't necessarily work tomorrow. So we do recommend that you review and refresh your designs a couple times a year to ensure that they're working and performing and displaying the way that you want them to.